The rise of the oligarchic puppet masters. How the ultra-wealthy could seize control of the government. Throughout history, power and wealth have often been intertwined, but in modern times, the potential for a full-scale oligarchic takeover of democratic institutions has become more plausible than ever. Imagine a scenario where the world's richest man, along with a network of billionaires, orchestrates an authoritarian regime, not just for political dominance, but to ensure their economic empire remains untouchable. Under the guise of patriotism and economic revitalization, a puppet government could be installed, turning the president and key officials into mere extensions of the oligarchic elite. In this system, democracy would be nothing more than an illusion, carefully maintained to keep the public passive while those in power consolidate control. Elections, policymaking, and even law enforcement would all function to serve the interests of a select few, rather than the people. This final article in our investigative series explores how such a system could form, the warning signs to watch for, and how people can resist before it's too late. The blueprint for an oligarchic takeover. 1. Economic power becomes political power. The wealthiest individuals don't just control businesses, they control governments. With unlimited resources, they can finance political campaigns, dominate lobbying efforts, and even purchase media networks to push propaganda. By strategically placing allies in key government positions, they can ensure legislation is written to serve their interests rather than the public good. Media manipulation. Owning major news organizations and social media platforms would allow for mass censorship, suppressing dissenting opinions while amplifying narratives that favor the ruling oligarchs. Campaign control. Through super PACs and dark money donations, billionaires can effectively buy elections, ensuring only candidates loyal to them make it into office. Historical example. In post-Soviet Russia, oligarchs gained massive control over industries and funneled wealth into government hands, making them untouchable by law. Those who opposed them were either eliminated politically or imprisoned. 2. The president becomes a figurehead. In a true oligarchy, the president wouldn't need to be a visionary leader, just a willing puppet. The real power would lie behind closed doors, with the wealthiest elite calling the shots. Key government agencies like the Treasury, SEC, and DOJ would be filled with corporate loyalists who would never investigate corruption at the highest levels. Laws would be written to benefit billionaires, reducing corporate taxes, eliminating antitrust regulations, and allowing monopolies to flourish. Wealth inequality would skyrocket, with the middle class slowly eroding into financial servitude, while the richest continue to expand their power. Example. In modern China, billionaires who align themselves with the Communist Party receive protection, financial backing, and legal immunity, while those who step out of line disappear from public life. 3. Global alliances with authoritarian leaders. An oligarchic U.S. government wouldn't just serve domestic billionaires, it would form strategic partnerships with authoritarian leaders worldwide. This would create a global power structure in which democracy is weakened across multiple nations, giving unchecked influence to the wealthiest elite. International business deals would be prioritized over human rights. Elections in other countries could be influenced or outright controlled. Oligarchs would work together to prevent any public movements that challenge their dominance. Example. Saudi Arabia's ruling family has used oil wealth to build relationships with global elites, ensuring their influence extends far beyond their borders. 4. The destruction of a free press. An authoritarian oligarchy cannot thrive if independent journalism remains intact. Therefore, eliminating press freedom would be one of the regime's top priorities. Dissenting journalists would be blacklisted, harassed, or imprisoned. Social media platforms would be manipulated to suppress unfavorable content. Media outlets would be bought out and turned into government mouthpieces. Example. In Turkey, President Erdogan systematically shut down independent news outlets, arrested journalists, and ensured that only pro-government narratives reached the public. 5. The economy becomes a tool for control. A billionaire-controlled government wouldn't just hoard wealth. It would manipulate economic policies to ensure the working class remains dependent on them. Monopolies would be protected, making it impossible for smaller businesses to compete. Automation and outsourcing would be encouraged, eliminating jobs while increasing corporate profits. Debt slavery would become normalized, with wages kept low and costs of living skyrocketing, making it nearly impossible for the average person to achieve financial independence. Example. The 2008 financial crisis showed how Wall Street executives were able to crash the global economy, receive government bailouts, and escape legal consequences, all while ordinary citizens lost their homes and savings. How to detect and prevent an authoritarian oligarchy. If such a system were being implemented, it wouldn't happen overnight. There would be warning signs. The key is recognizing them before it's too late. 1. Follow the money. Investigate which politicians receive significant financial backing from billionaires. Pay attention to sudden wealth transfers from public resources to private hands. 2. Expose the corporate government merger support investigative journalism that uncovers conflicts of interest. Demand transparency in government dealings with major corporations. 3. Strengthen worker and public resistance, support labor unions, strikes, and mass protests against corporate overreach. Demand fair wages, antitrust enforcement, and workers' rights. 4. Use state and local governments as a shield. State attorneys general can sue to block unconstitutional actions by a corrupt federal government. Local policies can be used to resist corporate overreach. 5. Demand strict anti-corruption laws, push for campaign finance reform to remove billionaires' influence from politics. Support stronger antitrust regulations to break up monopolies. What if it's already too late? If an authoritarian oligarchy has already taken control, more drastic measures may be necessary. Mass defiance and general strikes. If a critical mass of people refuses to comply, the system can be disrupted. Cyber resistance and information warfare. Hacktivists can expose corruption and bypass censorship. International pressure and sanctions. Global powers can isolate the regime economically. Underground resistance movements. If peaceful resistance is impossible, decentralized activist networks can sabotage oppressive systems from within. Final thoughts: an authoritarian oligarchy, orchestrated by the world's wealthiest individuals in alliance with the government and foreign leaders, would be one of the greatest threats to democracy in modern history. If left unchecked, it could result in a dystopian future where the people no longer have any say in their own governance, and all power is concentrated in the hands of the few. However, history has shown that even the most powerful regimes can fall when enough people recognize the danger and take action. The key is vigilance, awareness, and organized resistance before the system becomes too entrenched to remove peacefully. This concludes our investigative series, but the fight for truth and transparency is far from over. More stories are coming soon. Make sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss the latest updates, breaking news, and deep dives into the forces shaping our world.